Well, the Racing Biz is the go-to news site for horse racing in Maryland and also just the Mid-Atlantic.
And publisher Frank Vespe is here, joins us now to talk about tips on picks and projections for tomorrow. And thank you so much for being here with us.
It's my pleasure. This is Don Miller.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Don. Okay. And so talk to us about tomorrow. What can people learn and what can you tell us?
Well, you know, having won the Preakness, when you're dealing with a muddy racetrack, now years ago, the muddy racetrack favored the inside, so I was able to take advantage of that being locally.
Okay.
Now, they resurfaced the track several years later, so that advantage isn't quite there.
Okay.
But the local guys that would be riding are going to have a little bit more of an advantage over the guys that are shipping in from out of town to ride these horses. But it still comes down to the best horse.
Gotcha.
Right, and you're a retired jockey. Tell us about sort of your experience in this world.
Well, I grew up in a horse racing family. My dad was he was a jockey from the late 50s, early 60s. He retired when I was young. I was hoping to make it today, but his horse was a little slow getting out of the gate.
Oh, boy.
Just to bring him along. But I did very well early. I picked up the mount of the riding computer testimony very late. It was right before draw time, which would have been yesterday, and picked up the mount on him. So it was an exciting, first time for me, and then he goes on to win the race. So I always tell people it's great. If you are going to be riding a race like this, just make sure you ride the fastest horse.
Yeah.
That day.
The rest is set.
But then that has to be surreal, though. I mean, to be in that race and to win that race, I can't imagine.
Well, you know what's interesting? I get people all the time ask me, says, "What were you thinking when you got to the finish line?" And I got to be honest, it wasn't hooray. It was like, thank God I didn't screw it up.
Right. The pressure's off. I can breathe for a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, all I can think of was, thank God I didn't screw it up. But it was very surreal, and it still is now when I watch these races to think I did it for 16 years and I rode 20,000 races. It's really odd, watching this. And you can see things in the race that you wouldn't normally. I guess the average person wouldn't see. So it's really cool.
So watching now, are you kind of just like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not there? Or no, do you miss it? Okay.
Yes. When I was forced to retire, I was a lot younger. It was about, I don't know, 27 years ago. I had to retire early because it screwed up my hearing. And I remember going back about 6 months after I retired, and I'm thinking, what was I thinking?
Oh, boy.
I loved it, but it's so dangerous.
Yes.
It's so dangerous. And but it was a great career. No complaints.
Wow. Well, we certainly appreciate you sharing your experiences. I don't think we've met a retired jockey before. Don, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes,
there are not many of them out there, so unfortunately I am one of them. But,
we appreciate
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And enjoy the race tomorrow.
Thank you, I will.
Thank you so much.
You too.
And coming up next on WJZ at 9, our